Hey guys, I'm recording from my car, and I'll try to talk loud, that way the outside noise doesn't interfere with what I need to say. So, I was thinking earlier about my life as a Christian. So, now I'm about 25, it's 2023, and I didn't grow up Christian, specifically going to church every Sunday, but my mom did, and her family, and she pretty much just told me the foundation, the values, who God is, what God does. He loves you, those fundamental things. We would go on holidays and sometimes other events. And eventually, when I was a preteen, I started going to church because I got invited by my cousin who was older, to start going to church. And it was a Spanish church, and I didn't really know Spanish that well, even though I'm Puerto Rican, and most people would say I should know Spanish, but I wasn't educated. So I then started to learn, really more things, and hear the stories in the Bible, and really get to hear the concept of hell and what it takes to go to heaven and all these sort of points. And so I got really obsessed with Christianity and with God and all that. And I realized something today. That is that Christianity takes advantage of those people who grew up with a shitty childhood. Now, what I mean by that is they utilize the symbol of God being a parent more than anything. And He is the perfect parent, a loving parent. He's always there for you. He hears all your prayers. That's exploiting the point in the person that has a void for when their parents weren't there for them emotionally and even physically. Now, there are a bunch of kids who survived childhood, but then they still grow up not fully developed emotionally, for example, and may struggle with relationships based on their relationships with their parents, romantic relationships based on their relationship with their parents, which is like the fundamental relationship they have with every other human being. That, and secondary being their siblings and cousins, more or less. And so, to me, it was obvious. If you grew up and the first human being that took care of you and was always there in the first moments of existence, not just when you were, the moment you were born, but the months of taking care of you, your baby, changing diapers, all that kind of stuff. It's typically your mom, right? And then of course your dad is there. If they haven't separated, if you're not growing up in a single household, a single mom household that is, or a single parent household. And then I grew up with my parents divorced, and I stayed with my mom, with my brother. So I did have that experience, and a lot of people might have different situations where they grow up with, another person, like a grandparent, right? Or a very important person, a relative, a guardian, whoever it is, right? And that relationship is, when you look back, wasn't always perfect. It could have been better, right? There were some things we look back on and we're like, that could have been better. Like, for example, I grew up getting hit. And not just hit, like spank. I hear a lot of white people generally say the word spank. It's almost like when you go to different regions of the states, you'll find different dialects for certain terms, like that of a curse word is what we say up north, but down south they say a cuss word, right? So white people say spank, black Hispanics, they say whip their ass or some shit, right? So I got my ass whooped. So I don't know what spanking is really, because I've seen cartoons or whatever where it's like bend them over and like spank their butt, or like I don't know what else they could be doing. I'm not white. I don't hear the stories, But what I can say is I grew up being spanked or punished physically, whether it was with a sandal, a hanger, a computer wire, whatever was in the vicinity. I also grew up being lied to. Like, for example, I remember my mom, so it was me and my brother, and this is not to like shit talk my mom. I'm just saying this is my experience, and I know it's relatable. I know a lot of people have similar situations where their parents did really crazy stuff. You look back on it, you're like, what? Why did they do that, man? That's crazy. Like, beat you. And if you still hold on to that point of, well, they did it because I could learn, then you're just you're still abused inside your mind. You don't see really that it does not make sense to hit a kid. Why is it illegal to hit a person, and why is it illegal to hit your spouse, but it's fine to hit your kid? Like, why? Because kids are less than? And doesn't the kid then see that when they grow up and see, oh, I'm less than, I'm not equal to anyone, I'm inferior? Don't you see that how that can cause problems deep down later in their life? Okay, so my mom one time, from what I remember, this is what happened. Because I don't know if it was a vase or it was some furniture piece, glass, I don't know. We dropped something, me and my brother, and I can't say it was me or my brother, or it was my brother. Just, I remember this one point. Actually, I think it was me. So, we were just like horse playing, whatever, in the living room. Something falls, and we're just like, oh shoot, we're gonna be in big trouble. Because, you know, there are parents who really value the things they buy because money is scarce, right? I didn't grow up very well off, so that explains the whole point of, like, when you buy something nice and it breaks, it can set you off because you worked hard for that money and you bought it, right? So that falls. Me and my brother are like, what the fuck? Oh my goodness. Now, of course, we didn't say what the fuck because we couldn't curse, and also that wasn't even in our vocabulary really. So I'm just kind of like translating the emotions of like, oh shit. And our mom comes over and she's upset, but then she decides to play a character of like, you know what? Because she was trying to see who did it, right? Because who's gonna get punished, right? Who's gonna get hit, you know? And then she turned to this character. She's like, you know what? Doesn't matter who. He's like, I don't even care that it happened. I just want to know who did it. I won't hit you. I just want to know who did it. And I was like, it was me. And then, it was just like, you lied to me. I trusted you. Like, dead ass. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna get hit. Well, in that case, I did it. And fucking like slobber knocker right there, and just that kind of stuff. Like, it's a child. Like, what do you think is gonna? What do you think that does? You know, even to someone you know. You know what I mean? Like, that causes trust issues. I can't trust you. You lied to me. So, you know, parents can lie, parents can abuse, not just physically, but also emotionally, like that of lying, deceiving, like that of Santa Claus, you know, playing the whole Santa Claus thing, and then eventually it's like, oh yeah, by the way, this whole time Santa wasn't real. But also, we go to church every Sunday because God's real, and it's like so funny how they won't connect the two, you know. And I'll just put a side note. We're told that Santa's real, and then eventually we're told he's not real, right? And there's like, literally, if you look at it, there's no proof in Santa being real other than the parents displaying the presents or eating the cookie, whatever the you know, presentation is for Santa existence. That's it. So the same thing about God is there's a Bible. We're told God wrote the Bible. We're told God told people to write the Bible. We're just told these things. There's actually no evidence. And then you'll find those people who's like, well, there's actually evidence. And it's like, not really. No. But that's only for those who are actually willing to see, like, what actually is, not what they actually want to see. So it's a hard topic, okay? So that's not the point of the video. The point of the video is you can see, right, what I'm saying when it comes to parents abusing kids. And look, even those who are well off, you know, and don't hit their kids, there's going to be some sort of abuse. Like, again, everyone almost does Santa. That's the point of abuse. That's the point of trust. I trusted you. You told me Santa was real. Now Santa's not real. You know what I mean? And the point of parents not teaching kids how to understand things, but rather gives them like ultimatums. Like, you have to behave. Like, what are you doing? That's not bad. I mean, that's not good. That's bad. But they don't explain why it's bad. You know, so there's this whole dynamic of you have to be this way or I won't love you. Very conditional kind of love. Like, you misbehave, so we're not doing a bedtime story tonight. Sound familiar? Got it. Okay. So then Christianity comes in and they're like, hey, you remember that shitty childhood you had with the shitty parent you had with the shitty life? All of it, right? And look, I'm not here to blame. I understand. Shit goes down, especially when you live in a world that is full of abuse. Everyone's abusing each other, okay? So not blaming, I'm explaining, I'm just saying what is. This is what happened, okay? So take that point of, so remember this. When you're a kid, you love your parents. Typically, if it's a normal household, even with abuse, right? I'm not saying like your mom was a drug addict and she fucking, you know, I don't know, set you off for prostitution or some shit like that, like they do in Mexico or something. Like, I'm not saying that necessarily. I'm trying to go for a more relatable starting point. Here in the States, most people grow up even with abusive parents, and it's like they try to justify, like, either, oh, my mom didn't know better, or, oh, I'm fine even though I got beat. Like, I'm still fine. I'm okay, right? Like, as if fine is the standard. Like, why are you okay with being mediocre? So anyways, you look at that point, the kid still loves the parent. The kid sees at some level, like, the parent still gives me food, shelter, and everything. Like, they're my mom. You know, you ever have that where even when they get older, it's like, oh, I would never do anything disrespectful. That's my mom. This is like some emotional point. Like, that's my mom. I'll defend my mom or my father or whatever, right? That's still in the child, even when they grow up, most of the time. And that's what I'm saying. Christianity comes in and they say, yeah, so there's this God who's actually perfect, who actually loves you, who actually can make you feel like you've always wanted to feel towards your parents. The reason I mentioned that, oh, there's a lot of people who would offend, like, oh, that's my mom, don't disrespect my mom, or, you know, I'll do anything for my mom, is because with that programming, they can't see really how shitty their childhood is. They'll mention a few things, but they'll always find a way to justify, or they might find a point and be like, okay, you can't justify that, right? But most of it is justified in that bubble of, well, that's my parent, that's my mom. And despite that, they know what happened. They were fucked. But the point of Jesus is, depending on what sect of Christianity you're from, Jesus is either represented as the bigger brother, you know, to protect you, be there for you, love you, and or also he's looked upon as somewhat another parent, sort of. But then there's the Father, right? God, right? He's perfect. He's always there for you. Your mom and dad weren't always there for you. He'll always comfort you. Your mom and dad didn't always comfort you. He'll catch the tears from your eyes. Your mom and dad didn't always do that. There were times you cried and your parents were nowhere to be found, or you didn't want them to be there because there was already something severed in the relationship where you didn't have that relationship with your parents like that you would have with, you know, maybe a friend or a sibling or I don't know, a cousin or something, right? Or a best friend, right? Like, you go and cry on their shoulder. Kids would do that with their parents up until a certain point where it's just like, okay, you know, it's the rebellion, you know, when they rebel and stuff. Hopefully you see what I'm trying to get at. But back to the point again with Christianity, that gets exploited when you show the person that there is something out there that is everything you always needed. So imagine there's starving people somewhere, right? Let's say Nebraska. There's starving people everywhere, right? Let's say in Nebraska, and then there's this person who's very I don't know, convincing, charismatic, has an authority to them, right? And they go to these starving people and they're just like, hey guys, there's a place where there's food. There's a place where there's food. As long as you read this book, as long as you listen to what I have to say, as long as you follow the food God, you will receive food. I promise you. And they're starving, but they're just like, yeah, we need food, so I'll do anything you say. And if you convert food to love, that's exactly what Christianity is. Because there are even lots of women who use Jesus, I have Jesus in my life, as a substitute for a romantic relationship. Now, of course, they're not like masturbating to Jesus. It's not the point. The point is that I don't need no man. I got Jesus in my life. Like, woman, you need some dick. That's what you need. Seriously. Now, I'm not saying be casual with it, but every person needs someone else. There's a reason why the people who sell a bunch of stuff, like the corporations, they sell the most of the things in the world that we know of, right? Amazon, all these people, they own a lot of stuff and they sell a lot of stuff. They know that we need sex, and so they utilize that in their advertising. Carl's Jr. commercials, you ever notice that? In Carl's Jr. commercials is all this very sexualness, and that's not being subtle. They're being very direct about it. And then people buy burgers. It works. And then you have the subtle ones where, like, you have the bottles of soda where it has this kind of weird curve to it, and some may think, oh, that's to hold the bottle better. It's like a handle, but actually it symbolizes the curves of a woman's body. It's not perfect, but it's enough to stimulate you in that aspect of your brain to want that soda as if it's like sex. Yes, do your research. You can find it even on YouTube. Goodness gracious, the research is immense when it comes to how well these images and pictures and symbols work in the unconscious mind of a human for them to buy stuff. It's fascinating, honestly. And that's my point. Christianity abuses the point of someone starving for love. Someone that should have grown up with stable parents emotionally and parents who are there for the child, especially the mom. Now, how many moms now have a career that matters more than their own kids? Those are going to have long-term side effects, not good ones. Then the parent wonders why the kids resent them. Why? You know why they question? It's not because they're dumb. It's because they weren't paying attention. If they were, they would have seen, oh shit, my child needs me. But they're ignoring it on purpose, and with their ignorance, they're in bliss with their career and money making and the feeling of contributing to society while the children starve for their love. And that's with women today with their careers. Even back then, when they didn't have careers, how the moms couldn't still give the children stability emotionally and would yell at them or hit them or manipulate them in ways that it's like they're a fucking kid, man. If you would see it in front of you, you would literally be like, no, that's disgusting. How dare you? Why would you do that to a child? It's a baby. It's innocent. You're just taking it away. So take that point deep down in them. They won't admit it because that's what unconscious means, not conscious to their mind, to their eyes. But they needed love growing up. I don't know if you heard of the studies done where they put children that received care with the things that they needed, like, milk and food and all that, all that kind of stuff, a bed, whatever. And then they put kids with, a bed, milk, all the physical needs without the emotional needs, and those kids died. Not like eventually. I mean, literally, they died within, weeks, months? Not years. No. Very much shorter than that. I don't remember specifically. But the point was, that's astounding, isn't it? Children also need emotional care, emotional attention. Hugs. That's what it was. I think it was no physical contact with the kids. You can give them the milk and you give them a bed so they can survive in that aspect. But no physical contact, they fucking died. Doesn't that say something to you? when there are parents out there who actually say, I'm going to let my kid cry it out. And the kid's crying for their God. Literally, their God is you, the parent. Crying, where is them? I need food, or I need comfort. Maybe they should. Maybe they shitted. Maybe they ate. Maybe they did everything else. They burped, all of that. And they're just crying for attention. You just fucking let them cry it out. I mean, any other basic need that they needed. It's not, the point is, like, you let them cry it out, and then that fucks with, that actually leads to brain damage. Look it up. Everyone has fucking Google. Put some fucking words on the search bar, and you can see it for yourself. It's right there for you. Now, of course, if you can't read, you should learn how to read. I can help you with that. So, that is my biggest point right there. Take Christianity, and I'm doing some like Donald Trump kind of hand motions. It's gonna be huge, okay? Huge. So, if you take all those points together, it's not a conspiracy. It's just putting the puzzle pieces together, and you see the picture, and you're like, oh wow, that makes sense. So, and again, there are a bunch of Christians who had great, childhoods. Okay, I'm not saying that's their only audience or their only members in Christianity. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that Christianity takes advantage of those who lacked that point in them, that grew up in an abusive point, very abusive point, with their parents. That's what I'm saying. Because let's be honest, that's like at least half of the Christians, right? We know a lot of Christians are those that are actually poor, because they use the God point to believe in heaven, because their life fucking sucks dick. Nothing against gay people, but I mean, dick is not that fun to suck. I wouldn't know. I just have common sense, okay? I'm just being funny too. So, I just want to say that because I've been in the world. I've been in that Christian world, and I've been outside the Christian world. If there's anyone you should actually consider who's going to be the most objective, will be someone like that. Now, of course, there's those who leave the church and they fucking hate it. But I'm not coming from that point. I'm not coming from hate. I'm just trying to say what is. I'm not trying to spin a story. I'm literally just trying to explain what this is, what that means, and what that later consequence is. For some, it's obvious, and that's why they left, or they're still in it, but they don't know the answers to it, and they're just trusting God will figure it out eventually, right? But they don't worry about God changing their oil in their car. They'll worry about God giving them the job promotion, or God, curing homelessness or poverty or hunger. But they know if they don't change their oil in their car's fucked. So why is it that you're willing to give God that responsibility, but not this responsibility? Because that one's just, more easier? So, figure it out, man. I mean, that's what I'm a part of, a group that's wanting and willing and is going to change the world based on one fundamental thing. And if you want to know more, you can always reach out. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.